Reform Judaism is framed as you're encouraged to ask questions and have discussions and interpret stories in different ways, I think that has helped me come to the place that I am today, for sure. One thing that she said that really struck me was feeling heard makes me want to listen.
For many people in the world, there is a moment of clarity when you see the world differently than you saw it previously. Those are the moments when we wake up to life. I'm Rabbi Josh Bennett, and this is Waking Up to Life, a podcast about those moments. Welcome to Waking Up to Life, 18 Minutes with Rabbi Josh. I am so excited today to welcome Ella Fried to the podcast. Ella grew up here at Temple Israel and was a part of our Teen Tefillah team. She is now studying in her sophomore year, about to enter her sophomore year at the University of Michigan in the liberal arts program there. Ella, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, freshman year was a nerve-wracking thought for you when you were a senior in high school. You were excited and also nervous about going off to your freshman year at the University of Michigan. But early on in that first semester for you, things changed and you felt more and more comfortable. It ended up being a great year. But there was a moment in that first year that changed your whole perspective about being a student and being in a new social community. So share with us what happened.
Yeah, so it was the first football game of my freshman year last fall, and I only had half-season tickets because not all freshmen had all the tickets, and I had met this one person at a welcome event, and she didn't have tickets either, so we decided to spend some time together. And at first, the conversation was kind of slow, so we decided to play cards. And as we were talking over what game we were going to play, I realized that I don't think I know anyone who knows as many card games as I know, but she did. And as we were going through the card games that we knew, like, her face was lighting up and I was getting excited, and we finally settled on a game. But after the first game, we'd put our cards down because we were just so engrossed in conversation, and we were sharing our stories and experiences and bonding over things we had in common. But soon I also realized that she seemed different than most of the people that I had interacted so far in my first couple weeks, in that most people tended to lean liberal politically. We're on a university campus, and she did not. She, from what it seemed like when we were talking, seemed to lean conservative, and I was intrigued and curious to hear her perspectives, especially because it was the election season. The election was coming up, the 2024 election, and campus climate was buzzing with not only conversation, but also like tension around politics in so many different ways. And so I was just really interested to hear her perspective. And so she shared some of her thoughts, and I listened and shared some of my thoughts, which some of them were very different from hers. But one thing, about halfway through the conversation, that she said that really struck me was feeling heard makes me want to listen. Because she expressed that she understood that her perspectives weren't like everyone else's, and that sometimes she was nervous to share them, but that I was listening to her made her feel more comfortable and also more willing to listen to me and my perspectives. And so that was really powerful. That was the beginning of a friendship. And actually, at the end of the night, we were in the lounge of my dorm, the lobby of my dorm, and a student started playing the piano. They started playing Hamilton music, and Jade and I looked at each other, our faces lit up, and we just started singing along to the Hamilton music. I think it was Schuyler Sisters. And a few other students started gathering around. We didn't know each other. We were just singing at the top of our lungs together. And I just felt so close to my friend after that night. And so, yeah, that was I feel like what I wanted coming to college.
So at the core of what you said was this amazing line that she gave you: being heard actually makes me more willing to listen. And I think that unassuming moment where you were playing cards and singing together, you opened up, it sounds like, this portal to really getting to know someone else. Is that what it felt like to you?
Yes.
So first of all, I want to depart from that story for a minute and ask you a question about cards and games themselves. Where did you get this connection to playing cards? Why has that been a part of your life?
Summer camp. When we didn't have phones at summer camp, whenever we were waiting, my friends and I would play card games. We sometimes even made up our own card games and did card tricks. It was really fun.
So I think that that's an important reality. This idea of being away without technology, we do have to find ways to access connections to other people. And I think that's something in this technologically driven society that is missing. We see people out to dinner with their heads buried in their phones as opposed to connecting to other people. Is that something that has always affected you or bothered you in general society? Or did you know this already and maybe that's how you got to this moment of deep connection with your new friend?
Yeah, I have been bothered by phones sort of stifling connection, and so that's part of the reason that I did love summer camp, because we would make up these word games and play these card games and just have these opportunities to really connect with each other. And sometimes technology does enhance connection, and I've noticed that, but I think it's really important to also step away.
So in our family, we always had a rule that when we sat down as a family at a dinner table at home or out at a restaurant, you had to put the phone down, and it simply couldn't be a part of that connection. So I feel like I helped my children gain that skill set, but it sounds like you earned or learned that skill set fairly naturally, and it just matches your persona. So why do you think it is that this deep listening has become a part of how you build friendships? Is there something about you that makes that an important part of your life?
Well, I think for a really long time, I've really been passionate about listening to different perspectives and curious about hearing thoughts and experiences that differed from my own. And also, this actually ties back to summer camp again. When I was 4 years ago at summer camp, when I was feeling anxious and homesick, something my friend said to me was like, "I'm here for you. You can talk about how you're feeling. I'll listen." And that simple statement actually made me feel a lot better, to know that she was there for me. And that was also kind of another turning point where I realized the importance of having a friend there to listen.
So I want to take you back to the story that you shared at the beginning of the podcast, this college connection. Early in your first semester, obviously everybody at that time is seeking connections, especially if you're going to a place where you don't know many people in the environment. What was it for you in that moment that made you lean into this card playing? Was it just that you needed a friend in that moment, or did you see potential in this particular new friend?
Well, we'd met each other earlier at a welcome event, and the campus was really quiet because everyone was at the football game. And so I really didn't know if this was going to turn into a great friendship, but we started playing cards together and we started talking, and then I could feel that the conversation was just, it felt like it didn't ever have to end.
So here you are building this relationship, really listening. It's hard for me to have this conversation with you as a rabbi and not immediately turn to what we call the watchword of our faith, the Shema, which very intentionally suggests that part of being Jewish is to really listen, not just hear another person's words, but really deeply listen to that person and allow their words to enter into your soul. I know you didn't intentionally listen as a Jewish young woman at college, but it seems like somehow that was internalized in who you are as a leader of the Jewish community. Did you consciously know that you were listening to her in a way that was going to allow her to be present for you, or did it just happen naturally for you?
I think it happened naturally at first because I was really curious to hear her perspective, because it was one that I hadn't heard a lot before. But I definitely had, in general, been thinking about the importance of listening and the Shema, and sort of I think that being raised at Temple Israel, where Reform Judaism is framed as you're encouraged to ask questions and have discussions, and interpret stories in different ways, I think that has helped me come to the place that I am today, for sure.
So that goes against the general societal norm today. I think since COVID, maybe even before COVID, we have stopped talking to each other. We have stopped listening to each other. And you mentioned earlier that that felt like that was happening on the college campus around you. People were bifurcated into camps, conservative camp, liberal camp, and on Michigan's campus, certainly a far more liberal campus. So what did that feel like to you this past year, living in a place where people were monolithic maybe in the way they thought and weren't actually talking to each other and hearing each other?
Well, it was kind of frustrating. One thing that I was worried about when coming to college was that it would be like an echo chamber. And although a lot of my beliefs did align with my friends, I wanted to hear different perspectives and I wanted to be challenged, and some of my beliefs didn't align. And I felt like there was a baseline assumption that everybody shared certain beliefs, and that if I said something that didn't align with that, I didn't know how I was going to be perceived.
What an amazing reality to recognize that it's okay to have different beliefs. Not only is it okay to have different beliefs, it is actually a wonderful way to live where we listen to others and learn from others and grow from other people. That feels like it's missing from our society right now, where we are more and more listening to our own news sources that reflect our own echo chamber, as you said. And here we are, where we would be far better if we could grow, learn, and understand new perspectives. Are you worried about that going back for your sophomore year? Are you worried about the world that you are coming into as a young adult?
I think I'm hopeful that I'm not the only one who wants to listen to different perspectives. And there are spaces for discussion in clubs and in classes. And I hope that I can help also be a part of encouraging dialogue this coming semester between people with different perspectives. And because I really do think that seeking to understand and having that dialogue is a very important precursor to not only forming relationships, but also making progress.
So I'm going to share with everybody something you told me before this interview. You are thinking of going into public policy and specifically looking at maybe exploring the psychological side of public policy. And it seems like this is exactly what you're addressing right now, is if we can better understand the psychology of the way we communicate with one another, then maybe we can build a public forum in which people can be encouraged to disagree, because ultimately the results of those disagreements and those grapplings with differences will set us up for the future. I just have to ask you, I know you said you're hopeful. Do you think that is something that is possible based on what you're seeing on the college campus, where I know it has been difficult, especially for Jewish students, to live amidst a variety of understandings of the world?
Yeah. I think on a larger level, like on the scale of this country, I really hope to someday make a change and like cultivate an environment of listening to each other. But on the college campus, I feel like right now it is more realistic, because I think individually people do want to listen to each other. As you said, as a Jewish student on campus, it has been difficult sometimes. I have heard like sort of anti-Hillel sentiments around campus, and I love going to Hillel every week and multiple times a week. And one of my friends actually asked me about my experience at Hillel, because she said that she had heard negative things around campus, but she had heard me talk positively about it, so she just wanted to hear my experience and perspective. And I think that that's just another example of people do want to hear other people's experiences and listen to different perspectives.
And if not during these years, your formative years at college, then how are we ever going to get there as a country? I think sometimes we older members of society need to look to you, more youthful people in the college community and the young adult community, to say, what can we learn from you? And if I'm hearing you correctly, while there is this separation of ideology, there is also a willingness to really hear, to really listen to others. I'm sure not everybody's doing that, but there are people out there, which is very heartening to me, to suggest that there are people who are going to take us to a much more loving and learning society. Do you feel that way about your own personal future?
Yes, I do. And I think if we cultivate that, then that can lead to relationships and progress. And yeah.
It's such a Jewish thing. It's hard to think that we right now in the Jewish community are not fulfilling that mission. But I too am hopeful that you young Jews out there will teach us. And quite frankly, it's not just Jews. It's people listening to each other from all walks of life, all political persuasions, all ideologies, in order to come up with solutions that don't exist right now. It's a totally separate topic, but I'm wondering if you could just comment on whether you think AI is going to help or hurt this, because we're all talking about AI. Artificial intelligence is the buzzword of the year. Is this artificial intelligence world of memes that we really don't know if they're real or not, is that helping you, hurting you, or ancillary to this whole conversation?
That is a really interesting question. I think that AI has sometimes helped summarize information and consolidate it. But I also think that there's a place for, especially with talking about the importance of listening, personal stories and experiences that, at least right now, AI can't really replicate, because there is a truth that comes with someone telling their own story. And that's really powerful.
You said the word truth. I think that's really the key here. AI, in its perfect version, helps us build truth, right? Helps us find information and gather information. In its worst version, it creates a question about what truth really is. And if artificial intelligence can create an image that is completely fabricated and creates a new narrative, that's actually a distraction to this kind of real listening and communication that we're talking about, because now we don't have a shared understanding of truth. To me, that's one of the questions that your story raises for me. If I can actually hear somebody else's truth and understand it better, then we'll be a better people. But if AI pushes us further into the separation of my truth versus your truth, I think we're in real trouble. So I'm a big believer. I'm an early adopter of AI, but I am also concerned with regard to our conversation today that we may have to fight against this in order to do exactly what you said, to create a real sense of storytelling that's personal and real, and be able to hear that from another person.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so we have spent a wonderful amount of time together talking about your story and listening. I want to just do a few moments of listening to you right now. As you know, I ask everybody to share something that you're reading or watching that has been interesting to you this summer or this year that we can learn from today.
So a book that I actually listened to earlier this summer is Pride and Prejudice, and I loved it because I felt that the themes were so relevant even though it was written a while ago. And I especially loved that when I was listening to it, my own biases were challenged and my initial perceptions of each of the characters were flipped on their head in a way that I knew was going to happen, but I had no idea how.
So you went back to an old school classic and learned a modern lesson that actually is exactly what we've been talking about today. Can we hear things differently and figure out a way to do it? So last question, what is the ultimate takeaway to this experience you had at college where you used your listening skills to draw somebody in? What should we all hear today, really hear from you?
That listening to other people's stories is powerful, not only in helping your understanding of them, but also opening the door for them to listen to you and to build that connection and break down the fear of the unknown and move forward together.
Which resonates with our Jewish tradition in the word Shema Yisrael. Hear, O Israel, truly listen, and allow that to help us break down barriers to build a better society. Ella, if you are able to take us from the world in which we're living to that world that you dream of, your Garden of Eden world, then we will be a better society. And I believe in you. You have been an amazing part of our community, and we are really looking forward to watching you go on and build your future that matches your dreams. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Rabbi Josh.
For everyone who's listened, I hope you have taken something away from this conversation, that you will really be able to hear your friends, your family, and others in our community. Be listening to them in these next coming weeks. And if you know of somebody that has a story that they would like to share that has allowed them to wake up to life, please connect with me. And until then, continue to wake up to life yourselves.